I'm a National Socialist.
Frankly, too much of a focus on past guilt, and we need to move beyond that.
It's just stupid.
Would you say that you're proud to be a Nazi?
Yes.
German neo-Nazis are back on the streets and taking their hateful ideology to a new generation, infiltrating certain demonstrations. Fascists are using the internet to reach into the minds of young people and brainwash them with a hateful ideology most people thought was buried in the past. This shocking return comes as the far-right Alternative for Deutschland gains a foothold in mainstream politics, and separately, in some ideological groups, the atrocities of the Holocaust are being pushed into the background. We've come down to East Germany to investigate the neo-Nazis that are on the street and find out how that links into the rise of the far right and what is next for Europe's biggest economy. This is Morten, a Nazi sympathiser who travelled to Germany to join 3,000 others. He was one of many foreigners German police said had come from abroad to attend a march commemorating the lives lost during the Second World War bombing of the East German city. Organisers presented the event as a sombre reflection on the brutal events of the conflict, lighting candles, wearing black, and reading out the names of German cities bombed during World War II. However, some of those involved in the 3,000 were Nazi sympathisers who questioned some of the worst atrocities in modern history and spread their hateful ideology to anyone who'd listen. Marching past thousands of riot police, some of them displayed banners that questioned or trivialised the Holocaust and accused the Allied forces of committing war crimes. These far-right activists know it is illegal in Germany to display swastikas or do Hitler salutes, so they devised other ways to signal their allegiance to the Third Reich. Most protesters ignored the authorities' pre-event warning not to wear black and swaggered through the streets with balaclavas pulled around their faces. The following day, we found Morten the Norwegian barking instructions at a group of 5 men who were also at the Dresden event, out for a mid-morning walk in a town on the outskirts. Although he is initially aggressive towards us, he still clearly enjoys the attention and takes the opportunity to launch into a vile anti-Semitic tirade.
The USA and the deep state and the people behind, like Rothschild, Rockefeller, the real enemy. They have decided and built up this EU without borders, with not a monocultural countries. It is a multicultural. They're importing a lot of everything.
It is a horrendous rant, but one he feels empowered to spout from a square overlooked by a former Nazi euthanasia facility. Despite being a Norwegian who claims to be for a European monoculture, Morten appears to have an obsession with Nazi Germany and keenly tells the young men by his side how they have been wronged since the Second World War.
Germany have never have a peace agreement with the Allied. We are still an occupied zone by the Anglo-American. They're doing exactly what they want.
Do you think your views are common in Germany,
What?
in this part of Germany? Do a lot of people believe that?
They know that.
It would be wrong to think after the fall of the Nazis in 1945, their supporters just disappeared. Especially in the former East Germany, since the fall of the Berlin Wall, there have always been extremists with terrifying views. What's changed is that we are now living in an era when people can access young, undeveloped minds in unprecedented ways. Social media has given fascists a way of delivering their message unfiltered to an audience on a scale beyond their wildest dreams. Hours later, ordinary German family the Jacobs expressed their own concerns at the way technology enabled hateful concepts to flourish.
I think it is a problem of education, in my opinion. We have 2 sons, 18 and 12, and we have the impression that at school the discussion about the time during the fascism is too small. The influence of social media, of false
information.
Fake news
yeah.
is too big.
They found it disturbing that proud neo-Nazis would gather along with demonstrators in Dresden to promote their hate, but felt the political landscape had tilted to empower such gatherings like never before. In the recent German elections, the two most popular parties were the conservative Christian Democratic Union and the hardline Alternative for Deutschland. The AfD has factions that the government considers extremists and a regional leader who can legally be described as a fascist. And how do they feel about the AfD? Do you think they're dangerous?
Yes,
of course.
What do you worry about?
Yes, they are using words like the fascists in 1933, the same procedures, the same. It's also a feeling, yes.
Empowered by the groundswell of public support, figures within the AfD have also been doing the unthinkable, suggesting Germany needs to reappraise how it views the Nazi era. Efforts to separate the modern far right from the so-called past guilt were made by the party's most famous supporter, Elon Musk, during a video call to an AfD rally before the election.
I think some things that, something I think that is just very important is that people take pride in Germany and being German. This is very important. It's okay to be proud to be German. This is a very important principle. I think there's frankly too much of a focus on past guilt, and we need to move beyond that. Children should not be guilty of the sins of their parents, or even let alone their parents, their great-grandparents, maybe even. Fight for a great future for Germany. Fight for a great future for Germany. Go, go, go. Convince your parents, convince everyone. Let's go.
Yet, if we don't remember history, how can we avoid it going wrong again? Given its candidate for Chancellor, Alice Weidel's grandfather was a Nazi judge, and her deputy, Beatrice von Storch's grandfather, was Hitler's finance minister, this repositioning is something of a strategic necessity in a country still grappling with the heinous atrocities of the Holocaust. But when we met von Storch campaigning in East Berlin, we found she was willing to go even further, suggesting the comparisons opponents drew between her party and the Nazis enabled extremists, like those who marched through Dresden, to gain traction.
I mean, that's ridiculous. You know, telling Nazis out of Hitler is just stupid. I mean, they're telling the same thing about us. It's stupid. The average young person thinks it must not be... I don't think it was all that bad in the Third Reich, because if he's like Hitler, so Hitler is kind of a person I might disagree with. So we should not do that.
So, just so I understand it, you're sort of saying that it enables neo-Nazis by calling everyone a Nazi, then people that do hold those views, you kind of...
Nazi means that you think there are only two genders, you're against, mass illegal migration, and you're not in favor of an ever closer European Union. Is that Nazi? This is what people start to understand, and that's rubbish. It's just rubbish, and that's dangerous.
It is a matter of fierce debate in Germany regarding who might be opening the door for neo-Nazis to prosper. But it is pretty undeniable that the shifting of the political spectrum has helped. Standing with his face lit in the flames of the Dresden memorial candles is a terrifying result of that lost history. Louis Wagner wouldn't look out of place in a 1933 rally. He puffs his chest and marches around the fascist demonstrators' meeting point. He shouts Heil with guttural pride before belting out a taboo, abolished version of the German national anthem at a volume that can be heard 10 yards away.
How do you identify yourself politically?
I'm a National Socialist.
Okay, so just so I understand this clearly, if someone referred to you as a Nazi, would you accept that description?
Yes. I don't have a problem with this, yes.
Okay. Do the rest of your family, do they feel the same way as you do?
No. And the most young Germans that are political, that share my views, aren't have parents with our views, because the generation of our parents is mostly left-wing, but our generation is getting more and more right-wing.
And then obviously there is a stigma around some of the stuff you said. Do you think that that's changing? Do you think
yes, that's really changing because of people like me that are just standing here and saying openly what they think. So that's a signal for other young Germans to do the same.
Would you say that you're proud to be a Nazi?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is Germany's worst nightmare. A young neo-Nazi, disconnected from the horrors of the past and with an enthusiasm to recruit more people into his hateful ideology. How it deals with people like this will define the country's future.